Hello and welcome back. This is your host Harshit Simha continuing the topic from the yesterday on India's labour reforms, encapsulated in the 4 consolidated labour codes, mark a pivotal shift in the governance of work and employment. Among these, the Industrial Relations Code, IR Code, 2020 stands out for reshaping the architecture of employer-employee relations to meet the demands of a rapidly evolving economy. By integrating and modernizing 3 legacy laws, the Trade Unions Act, the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act, and the Industrial Disputes Act, the code provides a unified, streamlined framework aimed at fostering harmonious industrial relations. The IR Code introduces several transformative provisions. Fixed-term employment expands opportunities for workers with assured benefits at par with permanent employees, enhancing workforce inclusivity. The revision of retrenchment thresholds seeks to provide enterprises greater operational flexibility while retaining safeguards for employees. Strengthened negotiation mechanisms, through the creation of a sole negotiating union or negotiating council, are designed to improve collective bargaining efficiency. The code also aims to reduce industrial disputes by promoting preemptive conflict resolution and ensuring clarity in employment conditions. Together, these reforms reflect the government's commitment to balancing labor protection with economic competitiveness. The Industrial Relations Code 2020, therefore, represents a foundational step in modernizing India's labor ecosystem for the 21st century. Slide 2. Industry Definition Refined. The Industrial Relations Code 2020 modernizes the definition of industry to reflect the realities of contemporary work arrangements and evolving modes of employment. This refined definition brings clarity, inclusivity, and coherence to the regulatory framework governing industrial relations in India. The code adopts a broad inclusion approach, defining industry as any systematic activity carried out through cooperation between employers and workers. This expansive scope ensures that a wide spectrum of economic activities falls under the industrial relations framework, strengthening protections for workers across diverse sectors. Importantly, the definition now explicitly includes workers employed through agencies or contractors, thereby closing long-standing loopholes that previously enabled businesses to avoid accountability by outsourcing labor. Whether workers are engaged directly or indirectly, the employer's responsibility within the industrial setup is clearly delineated. At the same time, the code incorporates specific exclusions for charitable and philanthropic institutions, sovereign functions of the government, and domestic services. These exclusions acknowledge that certain activities have unique operational characteristics or public service functions that make the application of conventional industrial relations norms inappropriate. Overall, the refined definition enhances transparency, reduces ambiguities, and aligns the regulatory structure with India's diversified and modern employment landscape. Slide 3. Employer Definition Expanded. The Industrial Relations Code 2020 introduces a significantly broadened and clarified definition of employer, ensuring greater accountability and transparency across diverse types of establishments. This expanded definition is central to strengthening India's labor governance framework, as it clearly identifies the entity or person responsible for compliance with labor laws, thereby reducing ambiguity and preventing evasion of obligations. Under the code, government departments recognize the head of the department as the employer, ensuring direct responsibility for managing employment-related matters within public institutions. In the case of factories, the employer is defined as the occupier or manager as specified under Section 7(1) of the Factories Act, providing legal clarity in industrial operations where managerial accountability is essential. For other establishments, the term includes any person or authority with ultimate control over the affairs of the enterprise, such as managing directors or designated officials, especially when responsibilities are formally entrusted to them. This ensures that leadership structures in diverse organizational forms are fully aligned with compliance expectations. The definition also extends to contract work, identifying the contractor as the employer for the workers they deploy. This prevents the dilution of responsibility in outsourced arrangements and safeguards the rights of contract laborers. Additionally, provisions for succession, including the legal representative of a deceased employer, ensure continuity of accountability during transitions. By offering a detailed and comprehensive definition, the code eliminates gray areas that previously enabled employers to avoid compliance. This expanded scope strengthens enforcement, promotes fair labor practices, and establishes a clear chain of responsibility across India's evolving employment ecosystem. Slide 4. Employee versus worker, dual definitions. The Industrial Relations Code 2020 introduces a refined and dual-tiered categorization of the workforce by distinctly defining the terms employee and worker. This conceptual clarity is designed to modernize labor regulation, ensure precision in legal applicability, and align India's labor framework with contemporary organizational structures and employment practices. The worker definition is narrower and primarily linked to wage thresholds, 18,000 rupees per month, subject to revision. It encompasses individuals engaged in manual, operational, technical, clerical, or skilled and semi-skilled work. Importantly, it excludes managerial and supervisory roles above prescribed limits. This category traditionally represents the core labor force for whom protections related to working conditions, dispute resolution, and welfare provisions are specially designed. By clarifying this definition, the code ensures that frontline workers receive focused safeguards and that benefits are not diluted through misclassification. In contrast, the employee definition is far broader, covering all persons employed for wages or reward across establishments. It includes administrative staff, supervisory personnel, technical professionals, and even managerial or operational leaders. This expansive definition allows the code to apply certain provisions universally, such as remuneration, records maintenance, or service conditions, while reserving specific protections exclusively for workers. Strategic use of both terms throughout the code enables targeted regulation. Where the law intends broader applicability, it uses employee, worker or employees and workers. Where protection is meant only for the labor class, it singles out workers. This dual framework brings much-needed clarity, reduces disputes arising from ambiguous classifications, and enhances the precision of labor governance across India's evolving workforce landscape. Slide 5. Worker definition based on wages and appropriate government contractors. The Industrial Relations Code 2020 introduces a much-needed rationalization of the term worker by anchoring the definition to a clear wage threshold of 18,000 rupees per month, or any amount subsequently notified by the government. This wage-based criterion marks a substantial departure from earlier, often ambiguous classifications that led to disputes over who qualified as a worker for statutory protections. Under this provision, any person earning wages up to the specified limit automatically falls within the worker category for the purposes of the code. This clarity brings several important implications. First, it establishes a sharper distinction between workers and managerial or supervisory staff, reducing the scope for misclassification. It ensures that those engaged in manual, technical, operational, or clerical work receive the intended protections related to working hours, dispute resolution, layoff benefits, and union representation. Second, the wage-linked definition influences trade union membership, ensuring that worker-centric unions consist of individuals with similar employment profiles. Third, it enhances administrative efficiency, enabling employers and enforcement bodies to apply relevant provisions accurately. Additionally, the government's ability to revise the wage ceiling ensures that the definition remains aligned with inflation, wage growth, and evolving labor market conditions. Parallel to this, the code also resolves a long-standing ambiguity concerning the appropriate government for contractors. Previously, determining whether the central or state government had jurisdiction over a contractor's establishment was unclear, especially when contractors were registered in one location but deployed labor in another. This often resulted in compliance complexities and prolonged disputes. The code provides decisive clarification. The appropriate government for a contractor shall be determined based on the location of the establishment where the contract workers are deployed, not the contractor's place of registration. For instance, if a contractor registered in Maharashtra supplies workers to a factory in Gujarat, the Gujarat government's rules apply. This ensures uniformity, reduces jurisdictional confusion, and enhances regulatory oversight. Together, these reforms strengthen the operational clarity of the Industrial Relations Code 2020 by ensuring precise worker identification and streamlining government jurisdiction for contractor-related matters, both essential for improving accountability and compliance in India's labor ecosystem. Slide 6. Fixed-term employment, a new category. The Industrial Relations Code 2020 introduces fixed-term employment, FTE, as a distinct and progressive category of employment, designed to balance organizational flexibility with robust worker protections. This marks one of the most innovative reforms within the new labor framework, enabling employers to meet fluctuating workforce demands without compromising statutory safeguards. A core feature of FTE is equal treatment. Fixed-term employees are entitled to the same wages, allowances, working conditions, and social security benefits as permanent employees performing comparable work. This eliminates the traditional disparity associated with contractual labor and ensures that short-duration employment does not translate into diminished rights. FTE appointments are designed for specific durations, typically linked to project-based, time-bound, or seasonal work. Employers can hire individuals for predetermined periods without committing to long-term employment, thereby enabling efficient staffing for specialized tasks or temporary expansions in capacity. Importantly, the code specifies that no retrenchment compensation is payable when an FTE contract expires naturally on its end date, as the separation is not treated as retrenchment. This allows employers to manage workforce adjustments legally and transparently. Another major benefit is the extension of gratuity rights. Fixed-term employees become eligible for gratuity after completing 1 year of service, a significant improvement over the 5-year requirement applicable to permanent employees. This provision ensures meaningful financial security even for short-term workers. Overall, the FTE framework strengthens labor protection while supporting business responsiveness. It creates a flexible, fair, and modern employment structure aligned with the needs of a dynamic and competitive economy. Slide 7. Expanded Grievance Redressal Committee. The Industrial Relations Code 2020 significantly strengthens workplace dispute resolution mechanisms by expanding the structure and scope of the Grievance Redressal Committee, GRC. Under the previous framework, the GRC was limited to a maximum of 6 members, an arrangement often inadequate for large or diverse workforces, resulting in limited representation and reduced effectiveness in addressing workplace issues. The revised code increases the maximum membership of the GRC to 10 members, enabling broader participation and ensuring that the committee reflects the diversity of the workforce. This expansion enhances inclusivity by accommodating representatives from different departments, worker categories, and demographic groups, thereby improving the legitimacy and acceptance of committee decisions. As per the code, industrial establishments employing 20 or more workers are mandated to constitute a GRC. The enlarged committee structure facilitates more diverse perspectives, which is crucial for resolving modern workplace grievances that may involve complex interpersonal, functional, or operational issues. It also promotes operational efficiency by allowing subcommittees to address specific matters, ensuring faster and more specialized dispute handling. A larger GRC also strengthens organizational transparency and fairness. Increased representation fosters trust among workers, reduces escalation of issues to formal dispute resolution channels, and helps maintain industrial harmony. Moreover, with more members, the workload is better distributed, particularly beneficial in large enterprises where grievances may be frequent or multifaceted. Overall, the expanded Grievance Redressal Committee underscores the code's commitment to collaborative conflict resolution, responsiveness to workforce diversity, and proactive strengthening of employer-employee relationships in contemporary industrial settings. Slide 8. Retrenchment Permission, the 300 Threshold and Suspension and Subsistence Allowance. The Industrial Relations Code 2020 introduces 2 major reforms that significantly impact workforce management and worker protection: the revised retrenchment threshold and strengthened provisions for suspension with subsistence allowance. Together, these measures aim to balance business flexibility with worker welfare. Retrenchment permission, the 300 threshold. One of the most debated reforms is the increase in the threshold for seeking government permission for retrenchment, layoffs, or closure. Under the new code, establishments employing 300 or more workers must obtain prior approval from the central or state government. This approval covers key aspects such as the nature of the establishment, the reasons for retrenchment, and worker compensation. Penalties for non-compliance range from 100,000 rupees to 1 million rupees, ensuring strict enforcement. Establishments with fewer than 300 workers are now permitted to implement layoffs, retrenchments, and closures without seeking prior government permission. This reform encourages operational flexibility, enabling businesses, particularly MSMEs, to respond swiftly to economic fluctuations, technological shifts, or project closures. Supporters argue that this enhances India's competitiveness by reducing rigidities, while critics caution that employers must uphold fair labor practices despite greater autonomy. Suspension and subsistence allowance. The code reinforces worker protection during periods of suspension pending inquiry. During the first 90 days of suspension, a worker is entitled to 50% of wages as subsistence allowance. If the inquiry extends beyond 90 days without the worker's fault, the allowance increases to 75% of wages. This provision underscores a fundamental legal principle: a suspended worker is presumed innocent until proven guilty. These enhanced allowances prevent undue hardship, ensuring workers are not left without income during prolonged inquiries. At the same time, the structured increase in allowance motivates employers to conduct inquiries efficiently rather than allowing them to linger indefinitely. This mechanism strengthens fairness, transparency, and accountability within disciplinary processes. Overall, these reforms reflect a calibrated approach, providing businesses with greater operational freedom while safeguarding workers' financial security and procedural rights within a modernized labor relations framework. Slide 9. Industrial dispute scope expanded and direct access to industrial tribunal. The recent labor reforms significantly transformed the landscape of dispute resolution in India by expanding the scope of industrial disputes and enabling workers to directly approach industrial tribunals. These changes aim to strengthen worker protection, reduce procedural delays, and bring greater clarity and accessibility to the dispute resolution process. Under earlier legislation, the Industrial Disputes Act defined disputes in broad terms but left ambiguity regarding whether individual worker grievances, particularly those related to termination, could be treated as industrial disputes without union support or collective action. This limited protection for workers who faced wrongful dismissal, discharge, or retrenchment but lacked the backing of a union. The new labor code removes this ambiguity by explicitly including disputes arising from discharge, dismissal, retrenchment, and termination of employment within the definition of industrial disputes. This clarity ensures that individual workers can raise such matters as formal industrial disputes, strengthening their legal standing and access to remedies. Equally transformative is the provision for direct access to industrial tribunals. Previously, workers typically had to route disputes through labor departments or conciliation officers, creating procedural bottlenecks and significant delays. Under the new code, workers may directly approach the industrial tribunal for adjudication of disputes related to dismissal, retrenchment, or termination. This procedural shift empowers workers by reducing dependency on intermediaries and minimizing delays that often discouraged pursuit of justice. The code also establishes a clear timeline. Workers may file an application within 45 days after conciliation fails, ensuring prompt action and better case management. This reform enhances judicial efficiency by enabling parallel processing of cases and reducing administrative layers. It also encourages quicker resolution of employment-related disputes, ensuring timely relief for workers while giving employers a clearer, more structured process to address grievances. By broadening dispute coverage and simplifying access to tribunals, the reforms strengthen the overall dispute resolution system, improve transparency, and promote industrial harmony. Collectively, these changes mark a substantial step forward in protecting worker rights, enhancing procedural fairness, and modernizing India's industrial relations framework. Slide 10. Negotiating Union, a new concept and voluntary arbitration enhanced. The labor reforms introduced two major changes that reshape collective bargaining and dispute resolution in India: the concept of a negotiating union and the strengthening of voluntary arbitration. Together, these reforms aim to streamline negotiations, reduce industrial disputes, and promote more cooperative employer-worker relations. Negotiating union, a new concept. Earlier labor laws did not provide a clear framework for recognizing unions for collective bargaining. This often led to multiple unions competing within a single establishment, causing fragmentation, rivalry, and prolonged disputes. The new labor code introduces a structured system for union recognition. If only one registered trade union exists within an establishment, it is automatically recognized as the negotiating union. In cases where multiple unions are present, the union with the support of at least 51% of workers gains recognition. When no single union meets this threshold, a negotiating council comprising representatives from various unions can be formed, ensuring fair representation. The recognized negotiating union, or council, enjoys exclusive bargaining rights, which brings clarity to employer-union engagement. This system reduces inter-union conflicts, enhances negotiation efficiency, and ensures that workers' demands are presented cohesively. It marks a major departure from previous fragmented processes and introduces stability into workplace negotiations. Voluntary arbitration enhanced. The reforms also strengthen voluntary arbitration as a faster and more collaborative alternative to traditional tribunal proceedings. Under the new provisions, employers and workers can willingly enter into a mutual agreement to refer disputes to arbitration. Arbitration can be conducted either individually or jointly, and the resulting award is binding on both parties, ensuring finality. This improved framework offers several advantages: faster resolution compared to court procedures, greater flexibility in choosing the arbitrator, reduced workload on industrial tribunals, more confidential and less adversarial proceedings, encouragement of cooperative problem solving. By promoting voluntary arbitration, the Code encourages parties to settle disputes amicably, reducing prolonged litigation and fostering a more harmonious industrial environment. Overall, the introduction of the negotiating union concept and the enhancement of voluntary arbitration together create a more organized, efficient, and collaborative system for addressing workplace issues, benefiting both employers and workers alike. Slide 11. Social Security Code 2020. The Social Security Code 2020 marks one of India's most significant steps toward building an inclusive and universal social protection system. By consolidating 9 separate labor laws into a single, streamlined framework, the code aims to extend social security benefits to all categories of workers: organized, unorganized, gig, and platform workers, many of whom were previously excluded from formal protection mechanisms. A key strength of the code is its recognition of emerging forms of work in the digital and gig economy. For the first time, gig and platform workers are brought under the ambit of Social Security, acknowledging their growing contribution to the workforce and the need for safeguards related to health, maternity, disability, old age, and other vulnerabilities. This shift reflects the government's move toward modernizing labor laws in alignment with evolving employment patterns. The code also strengthens existing schemes such as EPF, ISI, Gratuity, and maternity benefits, while providing the flexibility to create new welfare programs tailored to specific worker groups. By expanding coverage and simplifying compliance, the Social Security Code lays the foundation for a more equitable and protective labor ecosystem. Overall, the Social Security Code 2020 represents a transformative reform aimed at broadening social welfare, reducing insecurity among workers, and supporting long-term economic resilience. Slide 12. Gig and platform workers. Historic recognition. The Social Security Code 2020 marks a pivotal moment in Indian labor history by formally acknowledging gig and platform workers as distinct categories within the workforce. This recognition is significant because it extends social protection to millions of individuals who operate outside traditional employer-employee arrangements. Gig workers, such as freelancers, independent contractors, project-based workers, and those performing short-term assignments, engage in flexible, task-based employment that does not fit conventional job structures. Similarly, platform workers undertake work through digital platforms that connect service providers with customers, as seen in food delivery services, ride-sharing, online tutoring, and a range of app-based services. By defining these groups, the code highlights the evolving nature of work in the digital economy and addresses long-standing gaps in labor protection. Historically, gig and platform workers lacked access to Social Security due to the absence of formal employment relationships. The code's acknowledgement is therefore groundbreaking. It is the first step toward ensuring benefits such as health coverage, old age protection, disability support, and maternity benefits for workers who were previously excluded from formal welfare systems. This historic recognition lays the foundation for a more inclusive, equitable, and future-ready labor framework in India. Slide 13. Wages definition. The 50% rule returns. The Social Security Code 2020 reinstates the crucial 50% rule through its standardized definition of wages, aligning it with the Code on Wages. This definition aims to bring uniformity, reduce ambiguity, and prevent the manipulation of salary structures that previously allowed employers to minimize social security contributions. The code divides wages into three key parts. Part 1. Inclusions. Wages include all monetary remuneration expressed in terms of money, such as basic pay, dearness allowance, and retaining allowance. These form the core components of an employee's earnings. Part 2. Specific exclusions. Certain items like bonuses, conveyance allowance, HRA, overtime payments, employer contributions to retirement benefits, commissions, and gratuity are excluded from the wage definition. However, these exclusions are capped to prevent excessive structuring of compensation outside the wage bracket. Part 3. The 50% cap. The total value of the excluded components cannot exceed 50% of total remuneration. If exclusions surpass this limit, the excess is added back into wages. This rule has major implications, particularly for provident fund contributions. Since items like HRA will no longer be used to lower the wage base, many employees may see higher PF deductions, impacting take-home pay but strengthening long-term savings and social security coverage. Slide 14. ISI Scheme, Voluntary Registration. The introduction of voluntary registration under the Employees State Insurance (ISI) scheme marks a significant reform aimed at expanding social protection for workers in India. Traditionally, ISI coverage was mandatory only for establishments meeting specific employee thresholds. However, the new provisions allow employers, even those with a smaller workforce, to voluntarily opt into the ISI framework, provided both the employer and the majority of employees agree. This change offers substantial advantages, especially for smaller enterprises seeking to extend social security benefits to their workers. Under voluntary registration, employees gain access to a wide range of ISI benefits, including medical care, disability benefits, maternity benefits, and dependent benefits. These protections ensure financial and health security during critical life events. The reform also covers workers in hazardous occupations even if the establishment employs only a single worker, reflecting the government's commitment to worker safety in high-risk environments. Additionally, the push toward establishing ESIC medical centers within a 10-kilometer radius aims to expand healthcare coverage and accessibility across the country. A key highlight within these reforms is the enhancement of maternity benefits, specifically the medical bonus. Previously, the medical bonus was capped at 3,500 rupees when pre- and post-natal care was not provided by the ISI hospital. This amount, unchanged for years, was often insufficient to meet real medical expenses associated with childbirth. The updated code significantly increases the medical bonus to 5,000 rupees and allows the central government to revise it periodically, ensuring it keeps pace with rising healthcare costs. This enhancement directly strengthens the financial support available to women during maternity. It reduces the out-of-pocket burden for those who either cannot access or prefer not to use ISI medical facilities. By broadening the coverage and revising the bonus structure, the new code aims to offer more equitable, reliable, and comprehensive maternity protection. Overall, these reforms, in both voluntary ISI registration and maternity benefit enhancement, represent a forward-looking shift toward inclusive social security. They enable wider participation, improve healthcare access, and ensure that women receive adequate support during maternity, reinforcing the broader goal of universal and meaningful worker welfare. Slide 15. ISI for new worker categories. The expansion of the Employees State Insurance (ISI) scheme to include new categories of workers marks a major milestone in India's efforts to extend social protection to all sections of the workforce. Traditionally designed for employees in the formal sector, ISI coverage now reaches workers in gig, unorganized, and plantation sectors, groups historically excluded from institutional social security. For gig workers, the reform allows platform-based workers, such as delivery personnel, ride-share drivers, and freelancers, to link with the ISI system. This inclusion grants them access to medical care, sickness benefits, and other protections that were previously beyond their reach due to the absence of a conventional employer-employee relationship. In the unorganized sector, millions of workers who operate in informal, low-income, or irregular employment settings can now register and benefit from ISI services. This step bridges a long-standing gap in social security, offering critical health and income protection to a segment of the workforce most vulnerable to economic and health-related shocks. For plantation workers, the reforms bring explicit ISI coverage, ensuring reliable healthcare access even in remote locations where medical facilities are limited. With these changes, the ISI scheme takes a significant stride toward universal and inclusive worker welfare. Slide 16, ISI, Employer Liability for Non-Payment. The Social Security Code significantly strengthens worker protection by introducing a crucial safeguard under the Employees' State Insurance (ISI) framework. Employers can no longer deprive employees of ISI benefits by failing to deposit contributions. Earlier, workers risked losing access to medical care and cash benefits if employers defaulted, leaving them vulnerable despite being eligible. Under the new provisions, the Employees' State Insurance Corporation (ESIC) is mandated to provide benefits to workers even when employers do not remit contributions. This ensures uninterrupted access to healthcare, sickness benefits, maternity benefits, disability support, and dependence benefits. After disbursing the benefits, ESIC can recover dues directly from the defaulting employer, including capitalized value of benefits, unpaid contributions, interest on delayed payments, and damages wherever applicable. This reform is grounded in a clear principle: workers should never suffer due to an employer's violation of statutory duties. By shifting the burden of enforcement and recovery to ESIC, an institution with stronger administrative and legal capacity, the system better protects workers while ensuring accountability. Overall, this provision strengthens Social Security delivery, reinforces employer responsibility, and enhances trust in the ISI mechanism. Slide 17, Gratuity, Different Rules for Different Workers. The Social Security Code introduces a differentiated approach to gratuity, acknowledging that diverse categories of workers operate under distinct employment conditions. For permanent employees, the traditional requirement of 5 years of continuous service remains intact. This ensures stability and rewards long-term employment relationships, maintaining the long-established threshold used across industries. For fixed-term employees, the code brings a major shift by eliminating the minimum tenure requirement. Instead, gratuity is calculated based on the actual duration of employment, even if the tenure is less than 5 years. This provision reflects the evolving nature of the workforce, where shorter contractual engagements are increasingly common, and ensures that such employees are not disadvantaged simply due to the temporary structure of their contracts. Working journalists receive special recognition under the code, with eligibility set at 3 years of continuous service. This distinction acknowledges the unique professional pressures, mobility patterns, and risk exposures associated with journalism. Overall, the new framework balances worker protection with employer flexibility. By tailoring gratuity rules to suit different employment models, the code ensures fair compensation for all workers while addressing the realities of modern labor arrangements. Slide 18, Social Security for Unorganized Workers. The Social Security Code marks a transformative step toward extending formal protection to India's vast unorganized workforce, long excluded from structured welfare mechanisms. One of the most significant reforms is the establishment of Social Security boards at both central and state levels. These boards are tasked with designing, implementing, and monitoring welfare schemes specifically tailored to the unique needs of unorganized workers, ensuring that policy development is responsive and regionally relevant. A major highlight of the code is its emphasis on comprehensive coverage. For the first time, gig workers, platform workers, and traditional unorganized sector workers are brought under the umbrella of Social Security. This inclusion closes a historic protection gap by recognizing modern work arrangements and informal labor patterns that dominate India's employment landscape. To support these initiatives, the code enables diverse funding models. Schemes may be financed through government budgets, corporate social responsibility, CSR, contributions, aggregator contributions, or other specified sources. This multi-channel funding approach ensures financial sustainability and encourages broader participation from stakeholders. The code also provides for the creation of special purpose vehicles, SPVs, to implement schemes efficiently. These SPVs can streamline operations, enhance transparency, and deliver services faster to beneficiaries. Finally, a mandatory worker registration system is introduced for gig, platform, and unorganized workers. This system is crucial for identifying beneficiaries, targeting welfare measures accurately, and ensuring that no segment of the informal workforce remains invisible. Together, these reforms significantly strengthen India's social protection architecture, paving the way for a more inclusive and equitable labor ecosystem. Slide 19. Aggregator Contributions. The Social Security Code introduces a landmark provision requiring digital platform aggregators to contribute to the social security of gig and platform workers. Aggregators, such as app-based service providers operating in sectors like ride-sharing, food delivery, home services, and logistics, are now obligated to financially support welfare schemes for the workers who power their platforms. The contribution rate, determined by the government, generally falls between 1 to 2% of an aggregator's annual turnover, ensuring a reasonable and sustainable funding model. At the same time, a maximum cap of 5% of the amount paid or payable to gig and platform workers is imposed to prevent excessive financial burden on businesses. This carefully structured balance ensures that contributions remain meaningful while maintaining the economic viability of platform companies. These contributions play a crucial role in financing social security schemes that extend benefits such as health insurance, disability support, and other essential protections to gig and platform workers, many of whom previously lacked access to any form of formal social security. Importantly, this marks the first time in India that platform businesses are mandated to play a direct role in supporting the social welfare of workers traditionally classified as independent contractors. This reform represents a historic shift toward recognizing and safeguarding the evolving workforce in the digital economy. Slide 20. Inspector-cum-Facilitator Role. The introduction of the Inspector-cum-Facilitator Role marks a significant philosophical shift in India's labor regulatory framework. By replacing the traditional inspector designation, the code signals a move away from a punitive, enforcement-heavy model toward a more balanced and collaborative system of compliance. This change is not merely semantic, it fundamentally redefines how labor laws are implemented and how workplaces interact with regulatory authorities. Traditionally, labor inspectors were viewed as enforcement agents whose primary focus was identifying violations and penalizing employers. Their role often carried a punitive orientation, resulting in adversarial relationships, compliance anxiety, and fear-driven interactions. The emphasis was largely on inspections, punishments, and strict adherence, sometimes without adequate guidance or preventive support for employers. Under the new framework, the Inspector-cum-Facilitator is designed to be both a regulator and an enabler. Alongside enforcement powers, the officer now serves as an information provider, advisor, and support resource. The role emphasizes collaborative partnership, helping employers understand legal provisions, adopt best practices, and comply more effectively. This includes providing compliance assistance, advisory guidance, and promoting awareness of regulatory requirements to prevent violations rather than merely reacting to them. The dual function remains important. Enforcement powers are retained for serious non-compliance, but penalties are expected to be used judiciously. The primary goal is to foster a culture of voluntary compliance where employers and employees work together with regulatory authorities in a more transparent and cooperative manner. This shift encourages a more trust-based ecosystem, reduces conflict, and supports improved workplace standards across sectors. In conclusion, the introduction of the 4 labor codes marks a historic transformation in India's labor landscape. Yet, the critical challenge of the I-squared factors, implementation and inspection, continues to shape their real-world impact. For these reforms to achieve their intended promise, they must be accompanied by rigorous oversight, continuous assessment, and unwavering administrative commitment. Only through sustained monitoring and adaptive evaluation can the vision behind these landmark codes translate into meaningful and lasting change for India's workforce and employers alike. Stay connected with our channel as we continue our journey into the SDGs next week, exploring building a sustainable future, concepts and approaches. Until then, farewell, and we look forward to guiding you through the next chapter of sustainable development. Till then, bye-bye.